Hi guys, we're going to open another one of the Bann Valley Fly 10 packs. So what have we got? We have got an olive Minkie. So, fry pattern. It would work for rainbows all around the year, but also for browns. And particularly the back end when the fish move on to fry sort of late summertime after the mayfly. Now what have we got? So we have olive zonker strips. So that's rabbit that has been cut to what, 3mm, I would say there. That's to create the back of the fly and give the movement. We have, as per usual, we have hooks. So we have a standard wet and a size 8 here. That's good, there's a bit of weight in that. We have some grizzly hen cape feathers, so that'll do for our throat. We have some sparkle glister, that's like a pearl colour. We have the same again but in a red, so we can use that to create like a front, like a bit of a throat or an accent to it, because suppose you look at a stickleback or something like that, their throat goes red, and other little fish have red around their gills, so it just gives a little striker point. We have some rib, so silver oval as a rib. We have some silver flash, we can use that as our tail. And we have some molded eyes. So let's get one of our hooks. So this fly would also lend itself to a long shank lure hook as well. Right, where are we going? Black tie and thread. So set that on and lay down our underbody. First thing then is the tail, and the tail is our flash material. So what I'm going to do is take our flash, and how I'm going to do this is I'm going to tie it in and then fold it back. So I'm going to take sort of half as many strands as I want the tail to be thick. I'm going to tie across that. You can see it's pointing forward, and my tie-in point is just forward of the back of the fly here. Then I'll fold this back, tie over it, and then I'm going to trim this off at about a shank's length. Okay. If you go too long with that, it will be inclined to tangle. So, and it's there to just sit underneath our strip. So the Minkie strip, there's a couple of different ways that you can attach it. So we have the rib here, and you can tie it on at the front and then rib through that, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to take our rib, tie here. But alternatively, especially on a standard shank hook, what you can do is to simply tie the strip in at the back and then fold it right over the top. It probably doesn't need a rib in that case. So if we take one of our Minkie strips here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick a point to tie it in here, and I'm going to wet my thumb and forefinger, wet the rabbit strip, and allow that to go forward. So if I'm doing it this way, what I'd do is I would tie it in there. I would then tie my body, etc., and then simply tie that in at the front like that. So that is an option. It's probably an easier option, okay? But you don't then get the rib effect. So for the rib effect, what we'll do is tie the body first and then lay the rabbit back over the top of it. So, two-part body. We'll use the pearl glister first. You'll find this stuff really easy to dub. So just take a small bunch of that and twist it onto your thread. It's really, really forgiving stuff, really easy to work with. And then I'm going to wrap that up for sort of a little bit over halfway of our shank. Then I'll get the red. Again, just a small little pinch of that. Dub that on. Create the front. Now you see, I'm going to need to leave quite a bit of room here at the front because I'm going to put the eyes on. If you don't want to use the eyes, then you can get it tighter up, okay? So, we'll go back then to our rabbit strip that we had. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set that on and tie across its very front end. So, if we take our rib, what you want to do here is to put on one turn first. The reason for that is that if you don't, that the rabbit strip, I find, tends to flip over the top of the fly. So here again, what we want to do is to wet the rabbit strip, and you just need to separate it out here until you find the little gap where the skin is level with the rear part of your fly, and then you get your rib in through that. Okay, so that's it set in place. We now need to go up the fly with the rib. So what you want to do is just separate out your rabbit strip, and just to where each turn of rib will pass through, and hopefully not tie too much of the fur down. Okay, so separate it, wiggle it through the fur. And when you get to the front, we'll then tie that off and trim it. So we need to cut our rabbit strip to length. I find it's easier not to use scissors for this, so I use a blade. So what I tend to do is I tend to cut the strip from underneath, so I'll hold it under tension here, so I'm pulling the back part of the strip so it's tight. I'll slide a blade underneath it. I'm sliding it up level to the back of my flash material and cutting the skin at that point. So you can see the skin cuts, but then the fur of the rabbit will stick out the back here, and that gives us that fry shape. And then whenever that gets obviously wet, then it gives you that nice fish fry profile. So I'm going to put the throat on now. So for that we're using our grizzle hen. Check that. As I said, you can tie it in by the tip or by the base. So tying it in by the base, obviously strip off the rubbishy bits you don't need, tie that in, put on a couple of wraps. You can double it, and in a lot of the videos you'll have seen me double it, but what you can also do is just to stroke all the fibres like this against their grain, nip off the tip, and then just tie in across the last little bit of stem, fold it back, and because we have just the shape of the head here because of the tying in of the rabbit, etc., I'm just going to wax that up. I'll put my hackle pliers on. What I'll do is I'm gripping round it with my finger like this. So as I slide the hackle through, you'll see it strokes everything onto one side. Okay, so just stroke everything back, slide the hackle between your finger and your thumb, don't worry too much if the turns are not exactly matching here, because we're going to bind back over it to create a head. So there we go. Once we've finished right, winding on the hackle, tie across the stem, fold it back, and then I'm just going to cut the stem out there. So you could fish the fly as is, but what we're going to do is we're going to add the eyes. So you need to create a head then that's big enough to deal with the eyes. So again, it depends what size the eyes. I think these are probably about a 3mm. So I need to take the head back until it can fit those. Finish that off. So it's important to have a kind of a neat head for this. And then how you're going to attach them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them on, and then after that I am going to probably use a UV gel. So I'll just put on a little dab on each side there of a super glue gel. Use gel, not running super glue, because the gel gives you that ability to sort of fill gaps and also it doesn't go off immediately. So I'm just going to take my tweezers, I'm going to set that eye up on the side. And I'll do the same on the other side. Just going to press it in place, and then I'll leave that side for a while to dry, and then I'll add the ice. Now you can just go straight in with your UV cure, but I think this just gives you a bit more control. Okay, so we've let that dry now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some UV resin, and then I have one of these little laser torchy things. So I'm just filling that gap in between the eyes first, and then I'll set that in place. Then I'll flip it over and do the same thing again. Now, the fact that the vise has a rotary function on it allows me sort of just to move it and allow things to just settle into the shape that I want. Then what I'll do is I'm just going to put a light coat over the eye, joining it then to the head that I had created. And then I'll do the same on this side. So and that is our little olive Minkie tied. Now that'll sort of represent a perch fry largely. So, as per usual, the packs are available from Bann Flies. You contact Sebastian there.